everybody will tell you the same thing. Watermelons are too big, too thirsty, and too wild for a raised bed, so you should just leave them to the farmers with acres to spare. But here is what almost nobody realizes. The very universities that study this for a living actually tell you to build raised beds for melons because they warm up faster and drain better than open ground. That is right. The experts do not just allow it, they recommend it. So why does everyone believe the opposite? Come closer and let me show you how to grow a real, full-size watermelon in a bed this small, one with a vine spilling right over the edge. Let's be fair though, because the fear comes from a real place. A single watermelon plant is often said to need around 20 square feet. Some sources say growing a watermelon takes 18 to 24 square feet per plant. The vines can run 10 to 15 feet long, sprawling across an open field, and they grow a foot or two every single week. So when someone looks at a cozy 4x4 raised bed and pictures that monster crawling out of it, of course they panic. And I get messages about this all the time. People tell me the plant spacing police online scolded them for even thinking about it. But here is the honest truth I want you to hold on to for this whole video. Not one single university extension service says watermelons cannot or should not be grown in raised beds. That belief is garden folklore. It's something we all just repeat to each other. And once you understand 3 simple things about how this plant actually works, you'll never look at a raised bed the same way again. By the end, I'll show you the results one gardener pulled from a bed barely bigger than a bath mat. So let's start with the objection that scares people the most: the roots. Everyone pictures this giant, deep root system that could only survive in acres of open field soil. And I understand why. But take a look at what the science actually says, because this is the part that changed everything for me. Picture a cross-section of the soil, with the watermelon's roots spreading out beneath the surface. Back in 1927, 2 researchers named Weaver and Bruner ran the definitive study on vegetable root systems, and universities still quote it today. Yes, a watermelon does send down a taproot that can eventually reach about 45 inches. That's the number everyone latches onto. But here is the detail almost nobody mentions. The real workhorse roots, the ones actually feeding your plant, live in the top 8 to 12 inches of soil. Their words were that the greatest root activity sits in the surface 8 to 12 inches in a beautifully developed network of little rootlets filling that top foot. Below 12 inches, the roots were, in their words, relatively poorly developed. Roughly 80% of the roots that pull in water and nutrients are sitting right there in the top foot of soil. Now look at a raised bed full of dark, crumbly earth. A bed 12 to 18 inches deep gives this plant the exact zone where nearly all its feeding happens. That deep taproot everyone worries about is mostly drought insurance, a backup straw for when the plant can't find water up top. And when you water consistently, which I'll show you how to do, your plant barely needs it. So the number one reason people say raised beds are too shallow turns out to be the very reason they work. All right, reason number 2, and this is where a raised bed goes from allowed to actually better. To get it, you have to know where this plant comes from, because the watermelon isn't really a field crop by nature at all. It's a desert survivor. Its wild ancestor grew in the sandy stretches of Africa's Kalahari Desert, where wild melons still turn up on the open ground. The fruit is 92% water, and ancient peoples carried it around as a portable canteen. The explorer David Livingstone even found great tracts of wild watermelon growing across the Kalahari back in the 1850s. This is a plant built for heat and built for fast-draining, sandy soil. And that tells you exactly what it wants from you. Now, a raised bed does one thing far better than flat ground. It warms up faster, often 1 to 2 weeks earlier in spring, with the morning sun hitting that dark soil and lifting a little steam off the top. And that matters enormously because a watermelon seed won't even germinate until the soil hits around 65 degrees, and it's happiest between 70 and 90. Cold soil doesn't just slow it down. It invites root diseases that rot your seedlings before they ever get going. And this is why the universities recommend it in the first place. The University of Minnesota tells gardeners, in plain language, to build raised beds for the good drainage these crops require, and to form raised beds to speed up soil warming. Penn State says the same, that raised beds warm faster in spring and hand you a longer growing season. So a raised bed does exactly what this desert plant has wanted for thousands of years: warm and well-drained soil. Remember that bath mat-sized bed I mentioned? We're getting closer to the number. And now the third reason, which is honestly my favorite because it's so simple. Everyone measures the bed against the vine, but you've got it backwards. Only the root crown, the base of the plant, actually needs to live in the bed. The vine is perfectly happy trailing right over the edge and down your garden path. Or, even better, you send it up. That 15-foot vine that scared everyone doesn't need 15 feet of bed. It needs a trellis. So your plant's roots sit in one small, warm, well-drained square, and the vine goes vertical, climbing a wire panel, or it wanders off across ground you weren't using anyway. Suddenly that 4x4 bed isn't holding a whole watermelon plant. It's just holding the roots. Everything else is free to roam. So let's put it together. The feeding roots are shallow, so the bed's depth is perfect. The plant is a desert native, so the bed's warmth and drainage are ideal, and only the roots need the room, so the vine's size stops being a problem at all. 3 little facts, and the whole myth just falls apart. That's the why. Now let me show you exactly how to do it, step by step, so you get a real harvest instead of a disappointment. Real quick, if you're finding this useful, go ahead and hit that subscribe button because I put out practical, no-nonsense growing guides like this every single week, and I'd love to have you along. Okay, let's build this thing. Step 1 is the single most important decision you'll make, and it's choosing the right variety. This is where most raised bed watermelon dreams live or die. You want a compact or bush type, and here is my simple rule of thumb. Look for vines under 4 feet, fruit under 10 pounds, and days to maturity under 80. Hit all 3, and you're golden. Let me give you my favorites, and I'll hold up the seed packets so you can see them. Bush Sugar Baby is the classic. Get this. It can hand you a full-size, roughly 12-pound melon on a plant only 15 to 24 inches tall, with vines around 3.5 feet. That still amazes me. Regular Sugar Baby runs a little longer on the vine, 3 to 4 feet, with sweet 8 to 10-pound melons in about 75 to 85 days. If your season runs short or cool, Mini Love is a wonderful pick, giving you small, round 3 to 7 pound fruit in as little as 65 to 75 days. And Golden Midget is my fun one for beginners because the rind actually turns gold when it's ripe, so the plant tells you when to pick it. No guessing. Now, one honest warning. Do not try to trellis a big classic variety. Your Charleston Grays or Crimson Sweets that hit 20, 30, even 35 pounds. Those belong flat on the ground. If you want a giant, grow it in-ground. For the raised bed, stay compact, and you'll be so much happier. Step 2, the bed itself. Depth matters most here. Give your watermelon at least 12 inches, and if you can go 18 to 24, even better, because that extra room holds moisture and lets those feeder roots spread out sideways. Keep the bed 3 to 4 feet wide so you can reach the middle without stepping on your soil and compacting it. A simple 4x4 raised bed will happily support one trellised plant. For the soil, watermelons want it rich but fast draining. Remember, they hate wet feet. A great mix is roughly half quality topsoil, 30% compost, and 20% something airy like perlite or coarse sand. Watch me layer it in, and test your pH. Aim for somewhere between 6.0 and 6.8. This one really matters. The University of Minnesota warns that once your soil drops below 6.0, you get yellow leaves and a plant that sets few or no fruit. So, a cheap pH test kit is worth every penny. One more tip, and this comes straight from the folks at Purdue. Because these melon roots like to spread out sideways, you don't want a super tall sealed box. Skip the weed barrier on the bottom of the bed and let those roots reach down into the earth if they want to. A moderate, open-bottomed bed beats a tall, closed one every time. Step 3. Timing. And please don't rush this one. I know the temptation. The sun's out, you're excited, you want those seeds in the ground. But watermelons are brutally unforgiving of cold soil, and even a light frost will kill them outright. Patience wins here. Wait until your soil sits at 65 to 70 degrees before you plant. Grab a cheap soil thermometer, push it right into the bed, and actually check the reading. Don't guess by the air temperature. Want to cheat the calendar? Lay a sheet of black plastic mulch over the bed a week or two ahead. It soaks up the sun and warms that soil for you, which is a lovely trick in a cooler climate. You can direct sow once it's warm, or start transplants indoors a couple of weeks early to get a head start of up to 2 weeks. But if you transplant, handle those seedlings like glass. Watermelons hate having their roots disturbed. Use biodegradable peat pots you can plant pot and all, and don't let the seedlings get too big before they go outside. Get the timing right, and everything after this gets easy. Step 4 is where the magic really happens. The trellis. This is how you fit a sprawling plant into a tiny footprint. My go-to is a livestock or cattle panel. You can arch it or stand it up between 2 sturdy T-posts, and honestly, it'll hold almost anything. A-frames and welded wire fencing work great too. A trellis about 7 feet tall and 4 feet wide is a solid working size, and your young vine will happily climb right up it as you train it. Now, here is the question everyone asks. What holds the fruit up? Because a melon dangling in the air will absolutely snap off the vine under its own weight. The answer is a simple sling, and I love how low-tech this is. Take a look. Once a fruit gets past about 2 or 3 pounds, you cradle it in an old pair of pantyhose, a scrap of an old t-shirt, or a mesh onion bag, and tie that to the trellis. The sling stretches and grows right along with the melon, taking the weight off the vine. That's it. Compact fruit in that 2 to 7 pound range is perfect for this. And here's a bonus you get for free. Lifting that vine off the ground means better airflow and more sun, which means fewer of the fungus problems, like powdery mildew, that plague melons lying flat in the dirt. Step 5 is the care routine. And this is the one area where a raised bed asks a little more of you. Because beds drain so beautifully, they can also dry out fast in summer heat. And that brings me to the most honest warning in this whole video. Watermelons need steady, consistent moisture, and swinging between bone-dry and soaking wet is what causes blossom end rot, that ugly, dark, sunken patch on the bottom of the fruit. I'll be straight with you. Blossom end rot is actually a little more common in raised beds, especially in the corner that faces the hot afternoon sun and dries out first. But the fix is not dumping calcium into the soil, which is what most folks wrongly reach for. The fix is even watering and the right pH. So give your plant 1 to 2 inches of water a week, deep and slow, right at the soil line with a drip line or a soaker hose. Mulch the surface to lock that moisture in. And here's the twist. Once the fruit is sizing up and starting to ripen, ease off the water. Too much late water splits the fruit and waters down the flavor. For feeding, go higher in nitrogen early to build strong, healthy vines. Then the moment it starts flowering, switch to a low nitrogen, high potassium feed, like a 5-10-10. Too much nitrogen after flowering gives you gorgeous leaves and no fruit. And if bees are scarce and your fruit isn't setting, become the bee yourself. Early morning, between 6 and 10, pluck a male flower, peel back the petals, and brush its pollen right onto the center of a female bloom, the one with the tiny melon already at its base. Do that a few mornings running and you're set. Now let me be completely honest with you, because I always will be. There isn't a single university study that directly compares raised bed watermelon yields against in-ground. So I'm not going to promise you magic. What we've got is the science on why beds help, plus real gardeners getting real results. And this isn't for everyone. If you can't commit to consistent watering, or you've got a very short, cool summer and you're dreaming of a giant melon, a raised bed will fight you. Be realistic with yourself. But here's that number I promised you. One gardener, using trellises in a bed of just 50 square feet, reported pulling over 100 pounds of watermelon in a single season, plus another 40 pounds of squash sitting right beside the modest bed. Now that's one person's result, not a guarantee. But from a space the size of a bath mat? That tells you everything about what's possible. So there it is. The idea that you can't grow watermelons in a raised bed isn't science. It's a story we've told ourselves. The feeding roots are shallow, the plant loves warm and well-drained soil, and only the roots need the space. Pick a compact variety, build a bed at least a foot deep, send the vine up a trellis heavy with ripening melons, and water it steadily. That's the whole game, and honestly, anyone can do this. And if you want to nail the watering part so you never see blossom end rot again, click the video right there on the screen. I'll see you in the next one.